Hey everyone, let me just make sure my audio is good. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of House of M. I'm really excited to get into this. This is part 2 out of 3. And let me just see, where was it that we left off last time? Last time we left off with Wolverine having escaped his team, his shield teammates, and being teleported by Cloak to Luke Cage's hideout, where Hawkeye is aiming at him, and they want him to get the chip out of his neck, the tracking device. And now we head over to Genosha, and we can see that Genosha is prospering. There's a huge castle. It's just a beautiful nation, huge city. And who's this here wearing sandals? Well, it's none other than Magneto, this huge robe. And a little kid walks up to him and says, "Grandpa," and hands him a little ship and says, "I made this for you with my mind." Sorry, panel, I can't. There we go. With my mind. And Magneto looks pretty grim about this. Not the happy grandpa you'd think, right? And now we're back in New York, and Hawkeye, he's still aiming at Wolverine. And they're telling him to get the chip out of his neck, but Wolverine keeps trying to get through to Cage. And says, "Tell everyone calm down so that I can," but Hawkeye doesn't let him finish. He's had enough. He fires a warning shot. Wolverine still hasn't taken the chip out, and Hawkeye just nails him. Boom, right in the head. In cold blood. And Luke is like, "What the hell did you just do? You didn't give him a chance to talk. You just killed him like that." Little do they know, though, that Wolverine is waking back up. And as they're arguing, Wolverine gets back up, which they did not expect him to do because they're not familiar with him, really. All they know is that he's apparently a SHIELD agent. I forgot to mention that in the last episode. He's that helicarrier is a SHIELD helicarrier, and he's a part of the SHIELD Special Forces team, along with Rogue and Nightcrawler and Toad and Mystique. Anyway, so he gets back up and he says, "How long was I out for?" And they say, "I don't know, like 30 seconds. And he says, "Well, then it's too late." Hawkeye says, "Too late for what?" And the doors come crashing down. The wall. And there are the Sentinels. And these Sentinels, they kind of look like Iron Man. I think they're Sebastian Shaw, Sebastian Shaw Sentinels. I'm not sure, but they look kind of like Tony Stark might have designed them. Anyways, they come crashing in, they attack, and before you know it, Cloak teleports as many as he can out of there. But a lot of them die. And here we are, and Cloak has teleported them. And he says he's taking them to Kingpin's office because it's the only place he could think of that was far enough away that would be completely empty. And from there they can see Hell's Kitchen, which is where they were. And as you can see, there's dust all over the place, like a bomb struck. And so Luke Cage tells Wolverine that he better be worth it because they lost some good people back there. And Wolverine starts explaining and saying what happened, and saying that 2 days ago he was an Avenger, and that Luke Cage was an Avenger too. And he starts talking about Wanda, and how Wanda went crazy and killed some of the old Avengers, and that the new Avengers were gathering together to figure out what to do about Wanda. He goes on to talk about Magneto. He thinks Magneto might be behind it all. Maybe she forced Wanda to get Xavier to do all this. He tells him when he woke up 2 days ago, today, that he was all of a sudden a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And he says it's almost like and that he could remember his whole life. And he says that it was almost like he was granted anything he ever wanted. And he has a bit of an epiphany when he says that. So he's explaining all this to Luke, telling them how the world used to be run by humans and that mutants were the minority. And that some weird utopia for mutants has been created. And he goes on to tell Hawkeye that he was killed in his world, that he's supposed to be dead. Hawkeye tells him to go to hell. But Luke Cage believes him. That's Felicia Hardy next to him, otherwise known as Black Cat. And she's part of Luke's team of underground rebels, I guess. It's Luke Cage and her, and I think Matt Murdock's with them. Danny Brand is with them. The Iron Fist, and so is Mark Spector, Moon Knight, although Moon Knight doesn't seem to have his powers, nor does Danny. Danny doesn't seem to be the Iron Fist. Anyways, they're all there talking this over, and Luke says he believes him because of this little girl over here. And her name is Layla. And Layla came to Luke Cage and told him, she gave him the exact same story that Wolverine did, down to the T, every detail, including Hawkeye being dead, and that's why they believe him. And somehow they're thinking about what they can possibly do to put the world right, to set things straight. And Layla apparently has this ability to somehow tap into people's minds and free them from this spell and make them remember who they are and what the world actually was like 2 days ago before this all happened. So Wolverine decides that he knows exactly what to do. He's going to take this little girl and he's going to take her to Emma Frost. And they head over to Emma Frost and Cyclops' apartment. Obviously, Cloak teleports them there. And Emma walks in. And as soon as Emma walks in, she immediately freezes them all with her brain and tells them to shut up. She doesn't want to listen to anything they have to say. But then she starts reading their minds. And Logan even tells her, go ahead, read mine. Take a look, he says. And she does. And the girl also snaps her out of it. And she sees her life. She sees Sebastian Shaw. And she sees the lie that she lived with Scott. They were never in love. and she sees a professor, and she loses it. She screams, and she turns to Wolverine and says, "We're going to kill him. We're going to kill him, his kids, everyone. He's not going to get away with this." And she's talking about Magneto. And Wolverine says, "Yeah, I got no problem with that. But, you know, we're going to need a bigger crew." And that's the end of that issue. And as you can see, we're going to be heading over into Spider-Man territory now. So Emma takes a look inside this Layla girl's mind to see exactly what her powers are. And she says, "It doesn't really seem like you have powers. You have psychic powers, but they're not mutant abilities. It's almost like it's not a power at all. And this is really strange." She doesn't quite understand what the girl's role in all this is, but she tells her that she'll help her and she has to grow up fast because they need her if they're going to free the others and try to fix things. And they snap out of that little realm where the two of them were speaking as Scott Cyclops comes home, and the girl does her little trick on Cyclops, and he freaks out, and he throws up, and obviously he's as mad as anyone else who snaps out of this. And when he comes to, he immediately becomes the born leader he was. And they start talking shop. They need a plan. So they head to New York. Well, I mean, they were already in New York, but they head downtown. And they find Peter Parker, who doesn't even try to hide his identity anymore. And Peter's there with Gwen, who he's married to, and his child, and Aunt May, and Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben's alive. And all of a sudden in front of him is La Resistance. The resistance is right there. And before anything can really go down, the girl snaps Spider-Man out of it. And he sees his entire life. The spider that bit him, the Kingpin, Eddie Brock, Green Goblin, Flash Thompson. Was Flash Thompson his name? J. Jonah, Carnage, Venom, Dr. Octopus, Mary Jane. Him being married to Mary Jane. And he realizes, and he also sees Gwen dying, which is one of the most infamous moments in Spider-Man comic book lore ever. And he freaks out. He freaks out worse than anyone else. I mean, think about it. He's been living a lie. He's been walking around with Uncle Ben and Gwen, and they're dead. And Mary Jane is a famous actress. Without him, she's successful. And he doesn't have a kid. Does that kid even exist? I mean, he has a child with a dead woman. He freaks out. And he just runs away. He runs up a building. And Scott says, "Well, someone's got to go talk to him." And Wolverine says, "Yeah, I'll do it." So they're up on the building, and, Peter's having a bad time. And he just says, "Please tell me that this is one of Mysterio's tricks. Tell me that my mind snapped. Tell me I'm the problem. Tell me it's not real." And Wolverine says, "I can't do that. I'm sorry. It is real." And Peter says, I can't hold back. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill Magneto, and I'm going to kill his children. Like, he freaks out, the same as everyone. Everyone's super mad when they realize what's been done to them. So he joins the team. And then we have a little montage here. Layla wakes up Kitty Pryde. She awakens Doctor Strange. She awakens Miss Marvel. She awakens Tony Stark, Matt Murdock, and Jennifer Walters, so She-Hulk and Daredevil. And then they go to Captain America, but they see him as an old man. And Emma explains, in this world, he never went in the ice. He's no good to us like this. So they were hoping that they'd get a normal Captain America, but they can't do anything with this old dude. And they start talking things over, and everyone is pretty pissed off. But they need to figure out a plan. They need to reach Magneto. They need to find Xavier. Emma Frost explains to them the only mutant that could do this to us is Xavier, and there's no way he did this willingly. He must have been held against his will. So they all know this has something to do with Magneto, Xavier, and of course Wanda. But as they're talking about all this, Logan's friends show up. Logan's S.H.I.E.L.D. friends. And we got Toad and Rogue, Nightcrawler, Mystique, and that other lady. And a fight erupts. Doesn't last too long before Rogue snatches the kid, thinking that, she's got leverage now. But when she grabs the kid, she absorbs the kid's powers and everyone wakes up. And needless to say, they're as distraught as everyone else. And Mystique sees the lie she lived with Logan and probably all the sexy time they had together. And she slaps him. And he tells her, do you feel better now? Save it for the person who's responsible for all this, which is, they believe it to be Magneto. Something this sinister must be his plan, right? So Rogue comes to, oddly enough, Rogue does not mention Gambit at all. But anyway, I would have liked to have seen Gambit join the team. I don't know why he's kind of, he's on the cover, for crying out loud. He's right there. He's right next to Wolverine. He's closer to us than Cyclops is in the image, but not sidelined in the comic book. Anyway. So everyone's on board now, and they have this team of people, and the plan is they're going to go to Genosha, and they're going to distract Magneto while they look for Xavier, and try to put the world back the way it was. And meanwhile, on Genosha, Magneto is getting ready for his gala, the House of M gala, and he has all kinds of royalty showing up there. Victor Von Doom, Namor, Ororo, T'Challa, and more. And while he's preparing, he visits a grave, Xavier's grave. And that's the end of this chapter. And let's quickly go through one more to end our part 2. So, our team head over to the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, and Emma is cloaking them with her psychic powers so that nobody notices them. And they get to the command center, and Emma basically tells the commander to head to Genosha. So they hitch a ride on the helicarrier. And while they're on the helicarrier, now we go straight over to Genosha, where the House of M gala is taking place, and you see here Victor Von Doom arrives, but he's not wearing his armor, and he's not scarred. He's a perfectly handsome man, which one might argue is what he always wanted. And they pose for some pictures together and whatnot, and Victor says he's surprised he got the invitation, and Magneto says he's surprised that he showed up. Back on the helicarrier, the team is eating, preparing for what's to come, and no one seems to be hungry, but Scott tells them, come on, I know that it's hard right now, but we need to eat. You guys need your strength. We have a huge fight in front of us. And Luke Cage calls Jessica Jones, because, you know, they're expecting a child, or yeah, they were expecting a child together 2 days ago before all this happened. He calls Jessica, but the answering machine says, "You've called Jessica and Scott, whoever Scott is." And so he hangs up and he just tells himself, why did I do that? And he has a bit of a chat with Spider-Man, and, you know, he tells Spider-Man, listen, you know, you should, he asks Spider-Man, actually, did you try contacting Mary Jane? And Spider-Man says, well, what would I even say to her? And Luke kind of has this moment with him and touches him on the shoulder and says, listen, she would have been successful with you as well. You know, she's not successful because you're not in her life. And Spider-Man doesn't really believe him, but I feel like he really needed to hear that. And Cyclops has a bit of a monologue here where he talks to the team and he says, listen, I've been leading the X-Men since I was 15 years old. And usually when it comes to extreme circumstances and violent circumstances, we pride ourselves in showing restraint and in being the better people. But this is not one of those situations. We need to win this fight. If we don't win this fight, we lose everything. We can't hold back. Whatever kind of moral issues you have in you, whatever restraint you usually show, you can't show this time. You have to give it your all. And while they're discussing all this, and Scott says there's going to be 3 teams, we're going to attack in 3 teams. Some of them start questioning if there's even a reason to do this. I mean, they start asking, so how exactly is this going to work? Are we going to put the world back? And Kitty Pryde says, you know, can we even do that? I mean, the bomb's already been dropped on the world. Isn't it almost as bad as destroying it in the first place if we put everything back the way it was? And, you know, one of them, this lady here, I keep calling her this lady. I don't know who this is. But anyway, she says that, you know, weren't we all happier? Didn't we get exactly what we wanted and maybe what we deserved? Maybe it was time. Maybe this was the way that the world was finally meant to evolve and that mutants were meant to take the next step. What are we doing if we put everything back the way it was? What if things can't go back to the way they were? What if we make it even worse? You know, it's kind of like Kitty Pryde said, the bomb's already dropped. We're not preventing something from happening. It's already happened. And Wolverine kind of says, you know, that's a dumb thing. You're going to regret you ever said that out loud. And Scott finally interrupts him and says, is everyone done? Okay, 3 teams. Like, he's done with the BS. And so the gala's going down. I keep calling it gala. And we have all the clapping and all the photos and cameras and the lights, and in the sky is the helicarrier. So they've arrived on Genosha. And in the meantime, we see here T'Challa's there, and Victor Von Doom, and Ororo, and this dude who's a Kree. And they're on the heroes on the helicarrier are talking about the plan, and the plan is that one team is going to be Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is going to go seek out Wanda because he can talk to her on the astral plane, which is a level playing field, for a while, and he might be able to get through to her. So Doctor Strange is going after Wanda. Emma Frost is going to take Layla, the girl, and they are going to go find Professor X and try to rescue him and try to get everything back to normal. And the third team, which is everyone else, is just going to flat out attack Magneto and the Gala and create a massive distraction so that the other 2 teams can do their thing. And here we see the House of M, and there's Magneto, and there's Wanda beside him, and Pietro. And I think this is just a make-believe sister that Wanda created. I forget what her name is, Lorna or something like that. And the attack begins, and a huge sentinel just swooshes down from the sky, and Magneto just stops it right there. Mid-air like that. And all our heroes jump off of the Sentinel. Let me see if I can get a good shot of this. Hold on. Sorry. Anyway. And you can see everyone here. Spider-Man, Wolverine, Rogue, Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Matt Murdock. I don't know why Matt doesn't have his Daredevil suit on, but anyways. Mystique, you know. Luke Cage, Iron Fist. And all hell breaks loose. And this is the big attack, you know. Scott immediately yells out Magneto and blasts at Magneto. And Rogue says, all right. Where is it? Right here. Rogue says, okay, Cyclops, you said no holding back. I'll show you no holding back. And she sees Namor and she just grabs him. And Namor's like, unhand me, woman, or whatever. And so she absorbs Namor's powers. Meanwhile, Cloak has taken Layla and Emma Frost to go look for Xavier. And they come across the memorial, his tomb. And Emma's like, oh no, we're too late. But Cloak decides to disappear into the ground. He just wants to double check, and when he comes back out, he says there's nothing down there but dirt. There's no bones, there's no coffin, there's nothing. We can't give up. And that's where we end part 2. And we still got one more part to go. So what do you think so far of House of M? It's a really, really strong comic book, and there's really exciting things that are going to happen in the finale. So Charles might not be dead. Our heroes are finally attacking Magneto. And we're going to find out what state Wanda's in and what kind of conversation she has with Doctor Strange. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. I'm going to try to make part 3 tomorrow. If not, I'll make it on Monday. And I hope you have a great relaxing evening or rest of your day, a great summer, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.